Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, in our ongoing study on the Gospel of Mark. We're going to look at 6:22 through 29 on the execution of John the Baptist. Let's read the text in block 1. When the daughter of Herodias came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his dinner guests. The king said to the girl, "Ask me for anything you want, and I'll give it to you." And he promised her with an oath, "Whatever you ask, I will give you up to half my kingdom." She went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask for?" "The head of John the Baptist," she answered. At once the girl hurried to the king with the request, "I want you to give me right now the head of John the Baptist on a platter." The king was greatly distressed, but because he had given an oath, and because of the dinner guest, he did not want to refuse. He immediately sent an executioner with orders to bring John's head. The man went, beheaded John in prison, and brought back the head on a platter. He presented it to the girl. She gave it to her mother. On hearing of this, John's disciples came and took the body and laid it in a tomb. Disgusting narrative on the execution of John the Baptist. Pathetic, really, but let's go to the commentary in block 2 and look at Ruckman first. In verse 22, Herod's conscience becomes seared because of a dance. Herod possesses no moral courage of conscience. In Revelation 21:8, such persons are destined for the lake of fire. The searing of the conscience is mentioned in 1 Timothy 4:2, resulting in actions of hypocrisy. Kautarazo 10 sunedresis, seared in conscience, resulting in hypocrisy. Now, under Edwards, this entire narrative reeks of treachery. John the Baptist knew that speaking God's word did include proclamation of responsibility. Josephus puts the execution at Machaerus, a fortress for Herod Antipas. The meaning of that name translates sword. But John was imprisoned and executed at one of Herod Antipas's palace fortresses in Galilee. Let's go to the Greek in block 3 in verse 26. And it says, "And having been made encompassed with sorrow," perilupas, encompassed with sorrow, the king, because of the oath, was not willing to refuse her. It says that this request for the head of John the Baptist caused the king great sorrow. And I don't get it. Why did it cause him great sorrow? And the only thing I can think of is that it caused him great sorrow because he was holding John the Baptist for future leverage against the Jewish people. That's the best that I can think of. Because Herod Antipas was concerned about one thing: the reputation and the power and the financial gain of himself. Power and money, and maintaining the peace in Galilee so that he would remain in favor with Caesar. He had no other concerns. John the Baptist was being held for future leverage to be employed against the Jewish people. So he didn't experience any real sorrow. The only sorrow he had was losing the beheaded John, lose the opportunity for using him for future leverage. So Herod Antipas was a corrupt leader, an immoral leader, a perverted leader, hated by the Jewish people. and generally not in favor with Caesar. I kind of like what Ruckman came up with, this Cauterazzo ten Synodresis. He says that the conscience of Herod Antipas was seared with a hot iron, seared, burned and seared across the conscience. And which meant that in Ruckman's opinion, Herod's conscience was corrupt, lacking in moral courage, and exemplified hypocrisy. I agree with that from Ruckman completely. I think that Herod Antipas was the very incarnation of hypocrisy. He certainly didn't experience any genuine sorrow. He only cared about his own power, his own monetary gain, and remaining somehow in good favor with Caesar. That's it. That's all he cared about. So it's a very short lesson. We just really wanted to cover this narrative on the execution of John the Baptist. And his execution was due to the immoral, corrupt hypocrisy of the Herod Antipas, the king of Galilee, the political leadership for Galilee, who was seared in conscience, corrupt, and exemplified hypocrisy at every level. And in the Greek, it's all because he had given an oath, and a political leader could not go back on an oath. When an oath was given, it was a oath in stone, immovable, irreversible. And so, as a king, there's no way he was going to turn back on his oath. That would have been an impossibility. And he had witnesses to the oath with the guests at the celebration, so there's no way he was going to turn back from his oath. That gives us 6:22 to 29 on the execution of John the Baptist. And we go 32 to 44 next time on the feeding of the 5,000. Next time we'll take a look at the feeding of the 5,000 and the teaching that took place in that retreat, teaching that was again ignored mainly by the people. Everyone was more concerned with miracles and not concerned with the proclamation of truth. We'll cover that next lesson in the narrative on the feeding of the 5,000.